The line to Babbage, long shot. Putman had trouble with it. Adams shoots, scores! Greg Adams! Greg Adams! Adams gets the winner! Yeah, he scores! Pavel Bure has won it in overtime. He will play. You know he'll play. He'll play on crutches. He will play, and he'll play at Madison Square Garden.
Campoli trying to clear it. Burrows shoots, scores! Back in for Alex Burrows. It's up in the air. Scores! Vancouver Canucks are going to the Stanley Cup Final.
Here's Elias Pettersson and shoots, scores his first goal of the NHL.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Knuckleheads podcast with your hosts Jared Chan and Kayden Ledre. This podcast, we're just going to go over the past recent games that have been happening for the Canucks and just the general news around the team. So Kayden, how has your past week been for you?
It hasn't been too bad. Sorry that we kind of we skipped a week there. You know, we just both got busy. But yeah, I'm excited for this one and kind of hopefully start off where we left off last time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just like you kind of mentioned there, last week is a little bit rough for time-wise there, but we're hoping to get this one's pumped and going and hopefully get one out next week as well. So just a little bit of a recap. Canucks played their first two games of the season last week. And let's jump into the first one. So the Canucks played the Oilers first. It was a pretty entertaining game, I would say. Luckily, it was pretty close until the end. Unfortunately, McDavid, was McDavid and finished it off. But let's just kind of just go over that game and any individual players we have any highlights with there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I watched the full game that night. I was excited about it, and the Canucks, they looked good. They played well that game. It was nice to see a lot of offense from the back end. You got the first goal from the defense. The second one they originally thought was also from Tyler Myers, but it was deflected in from Pearson.
Yeah.
But overall, they looked good. I do believe that the Canucks were the better team for 55 minutes of the 60. And it's just like you said, McDavid, I saw that goal, and there's not much you can do, right? He went right down the middle, and
yeah,
it happens, right?
Yeah, McDavid just has that insane ability of just splitting the D and just getting to the net, as well as if he's in that low slot, it's very dangerous for playing against a guy like McDavid as well.
Well, and that's the thing, and the person on the defense there was, you had Quinn Hughes, right? And he's great, but he's going to have that learning adjustment. And I don't think, if you watch the playback, he was very hesitant on going for that. And I think that's just part of that learning curve that is going to come with it. He's a great player, but, he got burnt a little bit. He got burnt by McDavid. He's not the first, and he's definitely not going to be the last defenseman in the league for that to happen.
For sure. What did you think of Quinn Hughes' game, just in general for this first game of the season?
It's weird because you look at it last year, the last 5 games he had last year, right?
Yeah.
And he stood out. He was making plays. He looked great. I'll be honest, for the first 2 games here, I'm not seeing too much from him. And you got to wonder if that's coming from the coach saying hey, you got to tame it down. We know he likes the defensive side of the game, right? He wants to attack that. He wants to attack the defensive side. So you got to wonder, he doesn't seem like he had that offensive push that he did in the last 5 games last year.
Yeah, for sure. I was paying attention to him quite a bit in both games, and he was skating a bit, and he was playing a little low, which is good. But obviously, you looked at his first 5 game stint you said we're talking about there, and he was extremely noticeable there, making plays, especially in his first game there. This game, he did get an assist. He registered an assist. Wasn't extremely noticeable, but it was a good effort by him in general. I feel like this starting of the season, he's got to get his stuff going as well as a bunch of other players, because we'll get on that as well. But for Quinn Hughes, this is going to be his full rookie season, so he's going to have a lot of time to kind of get things going and kind of get used to the league. I feel like after the 5 games, it was good, but I feel like he's going to have to kind of reset and just kind of re-get his knowledge of the league as well for that.
Well, and that's it, right? You're 2 games in. You can't base anything off of the 2 games here, because he's getting comfortable. He's trying to get used to the league. He's in a new position. he's in the NHL, like he's pro, right? Like it's not the school anymore. Like he's playing with the big dogs. So there's that learning curve, and it's gonna take time. My expectations are pretty fair for him.
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty interesting with him as well because I've seen so many different predictions for his scoring and for where he's going to end up in the end of the year. I've seen as high as 70 points and I've seen as low as like 20 points, but I haven't placed around like 35 to 40 points maybe, and I feel like that's pretty generous as well. Especially for defensemen, it's pretty hard to really get a lot of points in your first season. I mean, you look at Rasmus Dahlin from last year as well.
Yeah, 30 to 40 points is a fair guess with him.
Yeah, for sure.
I think, if you see someone that's saying 70, that's a little bit of extreme to me.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, in this game as well, I paid attention to a lot to Elias Pettersson, just kind of see how he has progressed over the offseason. And while he didn't get any points, he still had a solid game. In the first 2 games, he hadn't had any points, which is a little alarming, but at the same time, it's 2 games. It's not really a big issue. I mean, you take a look at last year's first 2 games, though, he had 5 points, which was pretty exciting to see, but I feel like he'll start to get going. It was a little alarming at the end of last season, the last 20 games where he just couldn't get that many points up. But hopefully, like he was kind of saying to himself, was that, he wants to play the full 82 games. He wants to produce every single game, which is very encouraging to hear him say that as well.
I'm not too worried, to be honest. It's the first 2 games. He wants to do good. He wants to, like you said, produce every game, right? And he comes out giving it his all every night. Now, that's the thing, is a lot of teams are going to focus on him a little bit more because they know he has the shot. They know he has the moves, the passing abilities. He's a well-rounded package. He's a great player. So teams are definitely starting to focus on him more. They're going to stay closer to him and focus on him.
I feel like the highlight or the MVP, I would say, of this game kind of goes to 3 players, but just in general, I said the MVP. I would say that second line of Miller, Pearson, and Horvat. They played phenomenal together in that game. All 3 of them played very, very well down low. Horvat didn't register on the score sheet. Pearson and Miller did. Pearson with the goal and Miller with the assist, but they all played very, very well.
Well, yeah, and if you look at the stats, you see Pearson has 11 shots.
Yeah.
Now, that does say a lot because he is shooting. They're spending time in the offensive zone. And like you said, all of them are all great players down low. They can all go to the net. They can all attack the net, and they're big bodies, right?
For sure. Yep, so moving off of that game, so Canucks, yes, they did lose. Draisaitl got 3 points, and McDavid got the finisher as well on that one. Moving on to the second game of the season, Canucks lose 3-0 to the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, that was a sad one.
It was a rough game to watch, to say none the least. Obviously, no Canuck registered a point. And I do want to quickly go over Tyler Myers here. So Tyler Myers, he did make that one really, really bad pass right in front of the net that caused one of the goals. However, I was watching him throughout the game, and honestly, he was very noticeable on the offensive end. There's a couple of chances he really, really, he could have scored on. Like, they were very, very good chances. But it was exciting to see him be a little more present in the offensive sense of the game, because, we see, like you look at last year, we didn't have that many offense, or much offense coming off the D, outside of Alex Edler. So I'm hoping Tyler Myers is going to be, helping that turn around and get more offense created from the back end. I mean, and judging by this game, it looks like he is going to, obviously, despite that one mistake he made.
Yeah, absolutely. You want that on a team, right? You want offense on the back end. You need it to win games.
Yep.
And he is playing an offensive role, and it is really nice to see because he is a big body. And you could see him pushing people off the puck, no problem. And people do have a hard time pinning him up against the board and taking the puck from him.
Right.
Yeah, they make mistakes, but like it's the small downside to having an offensive defenseman is they do make the defensive mistakes, and that happens, and you got to live with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, going to this next part here, I was really excited to seeing Gaudette get into the line. That excited me because I thought we were going to see something from him, to be honest. And you didn't see a whole lot from him, to be honest.
One thing was nice to notice, because I was looking on Twitter for this as well, is they were talking about how Eriksson got scratched last season, but it wasn't until the very end of the season. And now you look at this season, game 2, he got scratched already. So that's already a big sign from the coach too. He's not going to give it to the veterans. He's not going to favor them this year, which is nice to see. It was nice to see Gaudette get a look this early on. He did have a couple of good chances. I saw in the, I'm not sure if it was the power play or not. It was beside the net. There was 2 key opportunities for the Canucks this game where the puck just bounced over their stick and they should have tapped it in. It was a little rough to watch because you hate getting shut out. It was a close game, but not getting a goal on the score sheet or on the board is just it's a little frustrating. We saw that last year where they had that 2-3 game in a row not getting any goals. Like it's rough to watch that kind of hockey.
It is absolutely.
And looking at this team on paper, going into the season, I'm like, oh, this season's gonna be fantastic to watch. I cannot wait. And obviously it's only been 2 games, but the first 2 games have been a little I don't know, it doesn't really look like they have progressed a whole ton from last season. But like I have been mentioning over and over again in this podcast, it's only been 2 games, so we can't really say anything for sure. The team is still trying to get their chemistry together with the new players as well.
That's the thing is you just can't base. Honestly, I believe you can't base the team season before the first 10 games. I think after 10 games is kind of where you start to get the feel what your team's looking like, where they think they're going to go. And like you said, on paper, it looks great. And that's the thing, it's only on paper though. So I'm not panicking yet. I don't think anyone should panic. This is 2 games in. The Canucks,
right.
They have great players. They have great leaderships. And speaking of leaderships, we'll have to get back into that. But yeah, so I'm not panicking yet. I don't think anyone should. I think we're going to do better than we did last year, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you look at last year too, in the additions they brought, it's hard to think that they'll do any worse. And they were only 10 points ish away out of the playoffs as well. And if you think these players that they added could help them get those 10 points, it's going to be a fun season to watch. Like I've been saying, first 2 games, just a very small sample. We're going to start getting things going. This team's going to be very exciting. I would say the MVP of this game I would give to Jacob Markstrom. He was on, obviously the last goal was that empty netter, but he played pretty strong out of not people just not getting the puck in the net. So it's nice to see Markstrom still being able to produce off of his fantastic season he had last year. One thing to note too with Michael Furland, I remember through the offseason we've kind of been talking about how he had such an impact for the Flames when they played against us in 2015. And how he's a really game changer for them in that series. It was funny to watch in his interview he had during one of the intermissions. He said he was just done talking about it. Like that was in the past. Like he doesn't really care at all anymore about that. He just cares about now. So it's a little funny to see he's a little fed up getting mentioned about that all the time.
Well, and that's the thing. That was a long time ago now, right? He wants to play for the Canucks. He's excited to be here. Put that in the past. No one should be asking him about it. You play for the team that you're playing for, and that was his job in that series, was to get under the Canucks' skin. Put it in the past, forget it. He's playing on our team now. Let's hope he does that against another team when we're in the playoffs. That's what we should hope.
And once again, a nice showing from that Miller, Pearson, and Horvat line. I thought they did pretty well as well, but obviously this game they couldn't get anything on the board. I would also say, once again, Pedersen didn't get a register any points. Same with Besser as well. I'm hoping they can start. I mean, Besser did have six shots in this game, which is pretty good to see. Pedersen only had 1 shot, but I'm hoping they'll get something going, especially as we head on into this Wednesday with the home opener as well.
Yeah, speaking of the home opener, there's the big news that they're going to drop who the captain is in this game. I know we talked about who we think is going to be, and I think anyone that knows Vancouver and anyone knows the team, every single person should know who it's going to be. But it'll be a cool ceremony. Hopefully they got something nice planned. I think the fans deserve it.
Yeah, for sure. It was exciting to see because I remember earlier in the offseason, Aquilini did mention he was excited for the season opener, or at least for the season home opener. as you mentioned, they were talking to him about the plans they had for that night. So right away I was just like, oh, hopefully that means that's going to be the captaincy maybe announced. But yeah, so what was interesting as well, they announced the 4As just prior to our actual season opener. But they said, in that same statement that they were going to announce a captain on this upcoming Wednesday. But they did announce the 4As. I believe it was Horvat, Sutter, Edler, and Tanev. Correct me if I'm wrong. But what was funny, it was a little interesting at first. There was an insider. It might have been Blake Price. I totally forget. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But he was saying how he actually talked to the team, and they said those 4As were the assistant captains for the whole season, and for the captain to be announced on the Wednesday. But the way they worded it to him was that he thought that the captain was going to be someone other than that. So he thought, nope, that means Horvat's not captain. Could be Elias Pettersson. And I remember Twitter, at least on the comment, went a little bit crazy because they were like, what? What do you mean? Like, this can't be happening. Like, why wouldn't they give him an A first? Like, and they were going a bit nuts. And then what was funny is 5 minutes later, the Canucks contacted him and apologized for their wording and restated it. And then so he retweeted it out and be like, oh, sorry, my bad. They contact me back. So it's most likely going to be Bo Horvat, judging from that. A little funny to us to see.
Yeah, I didn't actually see any of that. So, it's funny to hear, but yeah, we all know who it's going to be. And if it ain't, there's going to be a lot of pissed off fans.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you look at what Bo does for this team, and yes, he's not the best player on this team. You got Elias Pettersson, but Bo by far has all the qualities you want in a captain, just that leadership and that person off the ice and in the changing room as well. And I'm pretty excited to see as well. I've been a big fan of Bo's for a while now as well, so I'm just overall pretty happy and excited for this Wednesday as well to see it happen. Just to kind of go over as well, did you see Luongo's comment on that captain picture?
Yeah. I saw the edit. Oh, that was good. That was really good. He's always had that sense of humor though. That's something he's always had, and that gave me a good chuckle.
For those who didn't see it, Strombone, which is Luongo's Twitter handle, he photoshopped and retweeted the Canucks picture of all the captains, and he said, "Oh, look, if I zoomed it out," and it was him wearing a jersey with a C on it, just staring at the other captains and smiling. It was pretty funny. Gotta love just that little hint of humor there.
Yeah. He loves Vancouver, and he's got a funny humor like that.
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna be pretty exciting to see this Wednesday, season opener at home, Rogers Arena. I'm pretty excited to see. I hope that the boys give a good effort this Wednesday. It'd be nice to put the first W on the column in home. But other than that, do you have anything else we should talk about?
No, that's I think that's pretty well it for this podcast. Yeah, it's going to be a good home opener. I think there's going to be a lot happening just with everything we've talked about with the captaincy. And it's going to be a good game. The boys get to play in front of the fans, and hopefully the fans pump them up a little bit.
Yep, for sure. Well, guys, thank you for listening for our podcast. If you have any questions you want us to talk about in the next podcast, please give us a comment in our Twitter. Our Twitter, once again, is Knuckleheads PC on Twitter. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys have a good rest of your week, and please comment, share, and we appreciate it. So we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.